Good morning. My name is Priya Chatterjee Ray and I will be presenting on behalf of my Group 10, 10 Cent. The topic we've chosen to discuss today is the Great British Break-Off, or Megxit as it is more popularly known. After a lot of discussions within the group, we realized that we are very torn about which side of the family we support in this entire negotiation. A lot of agreements and disagreements later, we know that we have some very different views on who was right and who was wrong. So we have tried to approach this negotiation with the most neutral stance possible, and we have tried to restrict ourselves to only the theoretical concepts we have covered in class to analyze the negotiation that took place behind closed doors. So, all of the information that we have is from news reports and other palace leaks. We maintain a neutral stance in all of this, even though in person we have our own beliefs about who was right and who was wrong. And as far as I'm concerned, it was the younger ones. With that, we'll continue with the presentation. Meghan Markle joined the British royal family in May 2018 by marrying Prince Harry. Their wedding made them the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. From then on, their relationship with the family followed a course path, with matters coming to a head in 2020 with the Sandringham summit. Background: the royal family comprises the monarch's close relations, the monarch being the ceremonial head of the state of the UK and 14 other Commonwealth realms. However, the royal family alone does not run the royal institution, often known as the firm. The courtiers, staff, working royals, and other junior royals jointly carry out this task. The royal family has historically placed a great emphasis on tradition. It is also very conscious about its public image and how the media perceive it. The royal family has followed the policy of never complain, never explain, and maintain silence on matters relating to the personal lives of the royals. Such policies have caused trouble for the royal family and its members in the past as well. Examples include King Edward VIII, who chose to abdicate after the British government, the public, and the Church of England condemned his decision to marry the American divorcee Wallis Warfield Simpson. During her time with the royal family, Princess Diana felt that her personality was taken away from her and she suffered from severe depression and anxiety. Instead of helping her deal with these problems, the family was dismissive of them, fearing that they might negatively impact their public image. Timeline of events leading to the Sandringham summit. Pre-2019, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got married and started their family as a new age couple, breaking away from the traditions of the royal family. Severe bullying took place of the Duchess in media. A new age couple, they broke away from many traditions which led them to this bullying. March 2019. First tensions appeared as Buckingham Palace announced that the couple would break away from the joint foundation with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge to form their own Sussex royal brand. The media was rife with rumours of soured relations between the princes. June 2019. Distances grew as the couple chose to spend summer away from the family at Ibiza over Balmoral. The rest of the royal family gathered in Balmoral for summer break. September 2019. The couple embarked on a very successful tour of South Africa. Documentaries were released in which the Duke admitted to rift in his relationship with his brother, and the Duchess spoke about how difficult motherhood had been for her and how isolated and alone she felt. October 2019. The couple took a 6-week holiday break to spend private family time in Vancouver Island, Canada, the prior home of the Duchess. November 2019. Breaking away from tradition again, the couple announced their plan to spend Christmas alone and not with the royal family in Sandringham. Christmas 2019. Amidst the antics of the family members, an informal decision was taken to slim down the monarchy. The message of the slimmed down monarchy was displayed in the Queen's Christmas message. Each year, symbolic photographs of the family were placed on her desk, and this year this was limited to her late father King George, husband Prince Philip, heir to the throne Prince Charles and his wife Duchess Camilla, and second in line to the throne Prince William and his family. There were no signs of Prince Harry. Feeling isolated and attacked, Prince Harry had 3 conversations with the Queen and 2 with his father about his fear of the media's intrusion and his desire to work for the firm away from England. Further calls were ignored, and he was asked to put his plan in writing. Prince Harry refrained from putting too much detail in writing for fear of leaks, and instead mentioned that he looked forward to discussing practicalities of his decision once he was back in UK. January 6th, 2020. The Sussexes travelled to UK hoping to receive an immediate audience with the Queen, but the men in grey suits informed them of Her Majesty's full calendar till the end of the month. January 8, 2020. Feeling stonewalled and ignored and left with no choice, the Sussexes issued a surprise statement stating their wish to step back from their royal duties. Blindsided, the firm clamoured to release a statement within 15 minutes. January 13, 2020. Facing media pressure and pressure from the Sussexes, the Queen called for the Sandringham summit to hammer out details of this step back. Stakeholders and their interests. The two main stakeholders in the picture were the royal family with its associated institutions, courtiers, staff, and working royals, and the Sussexes. In addition, multiple other parties had interests associated with the negotiation and played a role in influencing the actions of both parties. These included the US and Canada governments, the British tabloid media, and Meghan Markle's friends and family. The interests of the two major parties, as we have gathered from public interviews and news stories, could be differentiated into the Sussex wanting to get more independence and freedom from the restrictions of royal life, to work as part-time royals, splitting time between the UK and other countries where they would pursue their financial interests, and to be free from the constant tabloid interference in their personal life. The royal family in turn wanted to maintain its image in the public eye and protect its members from public scrutiny, ensure adherence to long-running royal traditions, and limit the amount of personal information shared with the public by drawing a curtain between the public, formal matters, and personal matters. Parties in the negotiation. The Queen decided to host the negotiation in her family home, the Sandringham estate. The negotiation was to take place between herself, her eldest son and heir to the throne, Prince Charles, and his two sons, the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, and the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry. However, as we've discussed before, the firm is not just run by the royal family. Its functioning requires the presence of men in grey suits. These men and women were present at the Sandringham summit as well. Thus, the private secretaries Edward Young, Clive Alderton, Simon Case, and Fiona Michelwam were called to the summit, and it was amongst them that the negotiations were supposed to take place to ensure the interests of all parties. For this negotiation, we will refer to the Queen, Prince Charles, Prince William, and their secretaries as Buckingham Palace, or the firm, separate from the smaller, more personal royal family. Sandringham Summit. Once the Sussexes announced their intention to step down as senior members, the Queen called for the Sandringham Summit on 13th January 2020 to negotiate all essential matters and reach an agreement between Buckingham Palace and the Sussexes. Finances, security, royal status, patronage, etc. were on the table for discussion. Newspaper reports state that a total of 5 different proposals were tabled at the summit. However, due to lack of details, they can be summarized into the following proposals. Soft Megxit. More in than out. It required the couple to spend most of their time as senior members of the royal family. They would be allowed a month a year to do their own thing. Acceptance of this proposal was seen as ideal, as both parties with a certain degree of compromise could have gotten their interests addressed. Soft Megxit. More out than in. This allowed the couple to have a more distanced role. However, the couple could have been called to carry out certain specific royal duties. This proposal was in favour of the Sussexes. Hard Megxit. The Sussexes would be completely independent and give up all duties. Though this would lead to a sour relationship between Buckingham Palace and the couple, this was the best alternative to the negotiated agreement for both of them. Outcome and fallout. Buckingham Palace decided to give the couple only 2 options. They could either be full-time members of the royal family or take the hard Megxit. The couple decided to leave the royal family, which resulted in a hard Megxit. The outcomes. Finance. The couple got complete financial independence and freedom to pursue their monetary deals. The couple would be without treasury support. Only their inheritance and any income they earned would support them. Royal status. The couple was allowed to keep the Royal Highness style, but was prohibited from using it. It was decided that they would no longer represent the Queen. British home. The couple was asked to pay a commercial rent to retain their British home and were also asked to reimburse £2.4 million spent on the renovation of this home. Frogmore Cottage. Patronages. All patronages were taken away from the couple except their private patronages. Military appointments. Prince Harry was stripped of his military appointments and was banned from representing the royal family at all military ceremonies. Timeline of events and the fallout from the Sandringham summit. January 18th, 2020. The Sandringham settlement was announced, which stated that the Sussexes were to step back with a year's time to finalize their decision. All outcomes were revealed to the world. February 2020. The Duke spoke at a JP Morgan event about his childhood trauma and said that he had no regrets in stepping back from his duties because it was the best decision for his 3-member family. March 31st, 2020. The Sussexes officially stepped back and their transitional period began. September 2020. The Sussexes broke their agreement with the royal family and took a political stance in the USA. They also signed deals with Netflix and Spotify to enrich themselves monetarily. March 7th, 2021. The Sussexes released an explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey. Allegations of racism were made, and issues like bullying, mental health, title stripping were brought up. Prince Harry spoke of being trapped in the firm and his distrust for the men in grey suits. Early March 2021. The transition period ended and the firm officially announced the couple's end to royal life. A semblance of retaliation was seen in their court, stating that the Sussexes were stepping away from the responsibilities and duties that come with a life of public service. The Sussexes in turn retaliated further by stating that service is universal. April 2021. Prince Philip died. The Duke travelled to UK for the funeral without his wife. The Duchess of Cambridge attempted reconciliation, but news reports state that Prince Harry was not interested. May 14th, 2021. Apple TV released a documentary, The Me You Can't See, produced by Prince Harry, where he denounced Prince William and accused Prince Charles of causing cycles of genetic pain to him. May 2022. The Queen's official birthday celebrations took place, but the Sussexes and Prince Andrew were both banned from the royal balcony. Fall 2022. The Duchess of Sussex released a Spotify podcast and cut article which contained veiled threats against the royal family. Stories were leaked of how her speaking out would ruin them. The Sussexes' relationships with partners in the USA were shaky as they were unable to deliver content, and the distance between them and royalty kept growing. September 2022. The Queen passed away and Prince Charles became king. The Sussexes travelled to UK for the funeral and tried to arrange negotiations and photo opportunities with King Charles. October 2022. King Charles continued to withhold negotiations until the Duke's autobiography released, as it was rumoured to be a damning report on the royal family. The King decided to give no royal titles or security to the Sussexes until the release of the same. Thus, it can be summarised by extremely negative feelings on both sides of the negotiation that resulted in a lot of mudslinging from the Sussexes on the royal family till the time of Her Majesty's death. However, with King Charles now the monarch, the Sussexes have attempted to restart negotiations, especially about their children's titles. Buckingham Palace, however, is not interested in resuming negotiations anymore. Analysis. We feel that Megxit, as it came to be known, and the Sandringham Summit provides a masterclass in negotiation concepts we've covered so far. We've attempted to summarize the same below. Distributive versus compatible negotiations. The royal family receives a lot of media attention. The Sussexes value their privacy and image and wanted this invasion of privacy to stop. Buckingham Palace wanted to safeguard its image and didn't want the media breathing down its neck. This would only be possible if the negotiation came to a settlement. This put both sides in a very slim compatibility zone, wherein both wanted to reach an agreement that could have been used to resolve these issues. However, this was overshadowed by the remaining issues in the distributive zone. The Sussexes wanted to live a half-in, half-out life where they did the royal duties outside England, got royal funding, but were also allowed to make deals to earn money through their royal name. Buckingham Palace was completely against this, as they felt that the duties couldn't be conducted away from the seat of the monarchy. Moreover, they felt it impossible to allow the Sussexes to financially enrich themselves using the royal name when they were supposed to dedicate their lives to the service of others. Eventually, this led to an uncreative, win-lose scenario that made the negotiation settlement more of a dispute. Interests, rights, and power. The dispute occurred due to the failed application of the 3 recommended approaches for resolution. Interests. Both parties failed to understand the other's needs and concerns. They didn't attempt to reconcile interests or focus on the other's interests. If they had, a compatibility zone of priorities and preferences and an integrative and mutually beneficial agreement could have been reached. Rights. The parties failed to understand the rights of each other. There were attempts by Buckingham Palace to stop the couple by virtue of their age old culture and rituals and the Queen's rights as the head of the family and monarch. At the same time, the Sussexes wanted independence, which they believed to be their right as adult citizens. Power. The Sussexes used their power when the royal family was not coming to the negotiation table. They tried to coerce Buckingham Palace to make decisions in their favour. However, the Queen, by virtue of her rank, had the power to decide all the matters of the family, and she decided to use this by giving the couple only two options: either be full-time members or leave. Hence, the issue wasn't resolved as both parties ended up using their power. Batna, or the best alternative to the negotiated agreement. The Batna for the Sussexes was to leave the royal family completely, take financial independence, move to the US to pursue monetary deals with Netflix, etc. This was like a divorce from the royal family, where the Sussexes would keep their name and use it for money, doing interviews, shows, etc., but not do any royal duties or have official working royal title or status. It would mean a drop in their status within the royal family. Buckingham Palace's Batna, on the other hand, was to give in to the Sussexes' half-in, half-out strategy, where they would get to keep working members who would do duties from time to time and represent the Queen, but who would also use their status to make money. In hindsight, we know this Batna existed, but in the negotiation, the Sussexes jumped the gun and revealed their Batna too soon with their 8th Jan announcement. They tried to use their Batna as a threat, which backfired on them, using hardball tactics and the issue of commitment. The Sussexes felt that they were being disregarded and ignored when the royal family refused to start negotiations even after agreeing to do so. Thus, they decided to use an aggressive hardball tactic of intimidation to bring the negotiators to the table. They achieved this by releasing their surprise statement on 8th Jan. However, the usage of such a tactic led to severe tensions in the family, with Prince William refusing to dine with his brother. The tactic worked, forcing the Queen to call the Sandringham summit. However, the couple caged themselves in by explicitly stating their threat or commitment in public. No matter the negotiation, they could have only proceeded with a less involved position. Thus, we saw how the usage of this tactic escalated the issue, pushed the parties apart, and failed to secure an agreement. Negative bargaining zone. The Sussexes' reservation point was working part-time as royals, doing selective duties. Having made a public commitment to step back, it was impossible for them to agree to a full-time royal role. They felt acute media pressure and wanted to move away from it, which they thought was possible abroad. Buckingham Palace, however, did not believe in this half-in, half-out scenario and needed the couple to take a clear stance of either being completely in or completely out. Thus, the resistance point of expectations was higher than the maximum the Sussexes were willing to do. This ensured that there was no zone of possible agreement and the parties ended up in a negative bargaining zone. Bargaining mix and lack of concessions. The parties were set to cover various issues from royal titles to finances, patronages, and security. Each of these issues could have been treated separately with its starting, target, and resistance points. Buckingham Palace chose to impart importance to all of these. They grouped all these issues under one head and offered two cut-and-dry options to the Sussexes, where they could either keep it all or lose it all. Moreover, Buckingham Palace made no concessions in the negotiation despite knowing that some of these issues were of great value to the Sussexes with high points of resistance. The Sussexes were willing to make some concessions. For example, they went from wanting to spend the entire year outside the UK to only 6 months away, but the Buckingham Palace did not reciprocate this. This lack of concessions on the latter's part soured relations and turned the Sussexes against them. Post-negotiation, Buckingham Palace included some sweeteners like a 12-month transitional period where Prince Charles would financially support the couple. They would keep their titles but not use them and retain their private patronages. This was an attempt at appeasement at best. Agency problem. We understand that the clash between parties was made worse due to the negotiation between agents. Meghan has alluded to the royal family and Buckingham Palace being two distinct entities, with the latter being run by the men in grey suits. These grey suits led the Sandringham Summit's high-stakes negotiation. While their knowledge and emotional detachment were required at this conference, their interests in wanting the best solution for the monarchy to be upheld differed from the interests of the Queen, a grandmother who would have wanted her family to stay together. They also lent a formal feel to the negotiations, creating a communication gap within the family and serving as go-betweens. For the Sussexes, who already harbored a sense of distrust for these men in grey suits, their presence in the negotiation meant that the Sussexes came to the negotiation with a feeling of distrust. Value creation. Since the negotiation became distributive and eventually ended in a dispute, only private value was created, as the bundle of decisions favored one party alone. If palace reports are to be believed, the negotiations started in the hope of joint value creation while maintaining relationships and cultivating shared interests. However, it disintegrated into both parties becoming value claimers trying to outmaneuver each other. This dilemma put them in a mediocre returns box. The hardball tactics, lack of concessions, and distributive negotiations had soured relations so much that both parties were bitter. Ethics in negotiation. A big theme in the entire negotiation was ethicality. As neutral analyzers, we can argue that there was some ethical ambiguity in the hardball tactic of utilizing emotional manipulation in the 8th Jan statement. It was effective since it brought negotiators to the table, but the world's reactions on this are polarized. Two schools of thought emerge. One school, consisting of the Sussexes' US supporters, argues that their personalistic ethics are guided by conscience. They claim to have not blindsided the Queen and justify their behavior by saying that after trying to negotiate talks for a while, on being stonewalled, they did what was best for their family since it was unavoidable. Buckingham Palace and the UK in general belong to the school of thought citing duty ethics. They feel that Prince Harry shouldn't have done this to his 93-year-old grandmother, their Queen, who had dedicated a lifetime of service to them. Retaliation. The result of the usage of hardball tactics, power, threats, agents, and an overall negative bargaining zone led to a lot of ill feelings between the parties. Being on the losing side made the Sussexes bitter about their situation, and no amount of sweeteners could help as they started retaliating against the royal family. This ranged from jabs in speeches and open mudslinging in interviews to veiled threats in more interviews and podcasts. In turn, the Sussexes' handling of the situation made the royal family defensive, leading them to exclude them from many events post the death of the Queen, unwilling to negotiate further, thereby ending their relationship. Dealing with international pressure. From the beginning of their courtship to the negotiation, transition period, and beyond, the royal family was under immense media scrutiny, with different stakeholders chiming in. They needed to reach a solution and do so quickly, leaving no room for creativity. Pressure also meant that they had to stick by their hasty commitments and not have the freedom to resolve the dispute in a private manner as a family, but on the world stage. The pressure sped up the timeline to Megxit and hastened negotiations. Learnings and advice for the upcoming negotiations. Use threats wisely. While the Sussexes' threats brought negotiators to the table, they weren't exact or credible. Because of the threats, all parties came to the negotiation with distrust in mind and unwillingness to collaborate. Moreover, since it was made so publicly, it became a commitment that the Sussexes couldn't